October 10th, 1941, I got drafted into the service, the Army, United States Army. I attended Painesville High School, and when I graduated from high school is when I went to work for the first time. And my first little job, as I remember, was dishing out ice cream cones at Isley's ice cream parlor. 8 cents an hour. Things were quite different then. And then later on, I went to work with Dad. He had a construction crew, and I worked with him in the crew and stayed with that. I wound up actually mainly doing electric sewer cleaning. That was the business I wound up doing. In fact, it was the only thing I did for a living. I went into the service. From Painesville to Cleveland Armory one night, thence to Columbus to, I can't think of the name of the place there. There another day, and then shipped to Fort Riley, Kansas to the Horse Cavalry. And that's where I stayed, the Horse Cavalry, from, that would be by October 14th, until the war broke out on when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. I stayed there at Fort Riley, Kansas. That was the end of the Horse Cavalry. They had no use for us. Part of our company, or part of the group I was with, were shipped to the Signal Corps. The other half went to the mechanized cavalry, which was tanks, half-tracks, and other things like that. From Fort Riley to McCord Field, Washington, to the Signal Corps. And that was radar and code men, communications between airports. We were connected to the 8th Air Force. We were the guys that send out the fighters to intercept the air raids. We got all our training in the Signal Corps for that. On that Sunday morning, the captain in charge of our barracks there at Fort Riley come out and says, "Fellas, the Japs attacked Pearl Harbor." And most of the guys in there looked at each other, what is he talking about? We had no idea there was anything like that going on. The captain says, "You'll only be here maybe a few days. You're going to get reassigned." Because after our preliminary training at Fort Riley, they had no use for horse cavalry, because in horse cavalry training, they teach you to ride horses for your getting around. You're an infantryman taught infantry training, and the horse is your means of locomotion. Everybody had a horse assigned to them. Well, when the war broke out, that was the end of that. Half of the guys from the horses went into mechanized cavalry, which was half-tracks and tanks, and it was at the other half of the camp. This is right near Topeka, Kansas. And then I would look at the board, and my name was on there to get reassigned to McCord Field, Washington, to the Signal Corps. So in my case, the Signal Corps is radar, which is transmitting to pick up air raids, code men who transmit all this information to the interceptor net fighters. So there was more schooling there, and from there they shipped me as one of the few to Chicago to Coyne Electrical School to learn to repair radio receivers, which were the receivers that where we worked with when we picked up the air raids. So I learned to repair radios there. And it was, I think that's how I remember, it was 3 or 4 weeks time. Yeah. And as I said before, it came out that they're looking for somebody that wanted to try to learn to be, learn to be code operator. And I decided like that, and I was the top guy in the class because code is a sense of rhythm that you use when you're sending code. It's like playing music. So I jumped 2 ranks from private to technician 4th, which was pretty nice. Incidentally, the pay then was only $18 a month, and I jumped to about 35 or $40, so I started to get rich. But that was interesting. And to this day, I might add that I can still do code. In fact, every now and then I'll take the radio and listen to some of the stuff. So that's where I spent all of my Army days in the Signal Corps. Yeah. When we got shipped out, we were here in the States till December 12th of 1942. We shipped out from New York and went 12 days on the water and landed in Casablanca, North Africa, Christmas Eve of 1942. We landed, we no sooner were getting off the boat, the Germans had an air raid. So as quick as we could go, we got away from the port there and went into the palace grounds. That's where the 3 people met, incidentally, in North Africa, Casablanca. Roosevelt, the Russian, and the English guy. I forgot their names now. So we stayed there. That's where that. But the war was still on in the desert there. Rommel was still fighting the desert. He was fighting us. So it started to move, and we moved as they moved. And we went from North Africa to Sicily, and the front stop there. We stayed in Sicily quite a while, and then went to Italy, and Germany was where I wound up when the war was over. But as if you might recall, there was a period there where it was almost like a year where it was just back and forth fighting in Italy, near Rome, up above Rome, or those areas through there, till they had that, when they had the raid, the final parts of it, when they left England and went into the ends of the war. That was it. What happened that was bad from the Signal Corps, my working partner with the code and all is still alive. He's the last one. We were the last 2. They lost our records. So the rest of our company were all home, and the only reason we got back home, he met a fellow that was a colonel over there, and he went and explained our situation, and they finally got he and I from Germany back home to the States. We were the last two guys from the Signal Corps that came home. And then I got discharged. We went to Indian Town Gap with our records, and they discharged us from there. But 4 years and a day. The guy says, "You're getting green." You're vomiting. Yeah, I got seasick. I can't think. Yeah.
I remember that part of the story.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if I think if I went on it, I'd get seasick. When we got drafted, it was at Fort Riley when we went there. My two bedmates, we were in a barracks, were both Italian. We could speak a little Italian. And we didn't like the guy that was in charge of the barracks. We would speak Italian. We were always in trouble. We was always on some kind of KP duty, doing something. What was the other part of that, Nance? No.
How did you get the nickname Doc?
Oh. Okay, yeah. Well, we moved around different places. At one place where we slept in tents. I can't remember. Florida, I think. Stayed right in North Africa there, at Casablanca. And in a building, but then we moved out of the building into a tent. And 8 of us slept in pyramidal tents there. And four of the guys were from Texas and 4 of us was from Ohio, fortunately. So it was the Texans against the talking this, that, and the other thing. But when I was home, I'll go back a little ways here. I used to get a lot of colds. And my mother used to always buy Vicks for me to cure my colds there at home. Now I'm in the Army now. You get sick of a cold and they give you a pill and just go back, and that's all, nothing. But I was fed to those in the tent when I first went in there, but I was Doc later. You know why? My mother was worried that I get a cold, I wouldn't have nothing to. She'd send me a jar of Vicks, made sure I had that Vicks with me. And you know what happened, don't you? Hey, Fred, did your mom? I need some of your Vicks. So they nicknamed me Doc. I had the name of Doc DeFranco the entire time afterwards. I have in here this is funny. There's 30 names there. After we went through the service and got out, these 30 names we kept correspondence Christmas after Christmas, Christmas cards. There they are. There's only one left, or two. One guy in Florida. And what was I on? Yeah, we kept track. Every year, Christmas was never Fred. It was always Doc DeFranco, Doc DeFranco. So I was known as Doc because I gave the Vicks to the guys so they get rid of the colds. That was interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we were in Italy, the fighting was away from. We were right near Naples, Italy. And my dad came from the middle part of Italy when he left there and came here. And I did get permission from the lieutenant in charge of the radio team there to take one of the cars we had and go into where he was born, into the middle part where they weren't fighting, of course. I got a chance to see the middle part of where Dad was born. His people, I only had a short time there. I couldn't. One person I met there was he couldn't get the people there soon enough because we had to come back to camp. He only gave me an hour and a half to come and go, and I couldn't make it. But I met where Dad was born and where he came from.
Campobasso, right?
Yeah, it's the middle part of Italy, straight in from Naples. It's a mountainous area there, mountain range there. Beautiful country. They raise grapes. They're all grape growers up in there. Yeah. But I don't know where you fellows were there in the war, but the fronts, as you remember, stalled, and that we moved with wherever the war was going away. We moved around a lot. And as I told John, I says, they forgot us when the war was over. The guys are all home, and he and I are still over there in Germany. So we came home from Frankfurt, Germany. They give us an airplane ride. Yeah, they sent us home. He's the one that's left of the 30. 28 have died. He and I are the only ones left. Yeah. Yeah, I went to church all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I've been good at the faith part of it. In fact, now that I had to give up driving eventually, Nancy and I go together mostly when we can. Otherwise, I watch it on too. Oh yeah, I'm a believer in going to church. Yeah, I've been pretty faithful there. Here, I had an interesting account happen with that when I was drafted. I love dogs. I had a nice dog when I left here from home. I had never been away from home, John. And when I got into service, I left him. And I really missed him all those years. Sure. After 4 years in there, my parents didn't know I was coming home. I got discharged in Pennsylvania. I can't think of the place here now. And came back to Cleveland, got on the bus, come to Painesville, and got off of the bus. Oh, I bet when I was coming home that they didn't know I was discharged. Indiantown Gap. There was a lady there, my next door neighbor was there. So we rode home together to the depot here in Painesville, well, not here in Painesville. Got out, started to walk home. I lived right down the street from the depot on Sanford Street. The two of us were walking side by side. In fact, a lot of them never knew that I was here. And when I was at the end of the street, Sanford, halfway down, I saw my dog. Why I'm crying, I didn't expect that. Because I had missed him so much. Here he was. So the three of us came back home and went back to our normal way of living there. She was my neighbor side by side, but that was really something after 4 years that happened. I just want to let you know about that. But then after that, it was just a matter of getting readjusting to life at home. I didn't go to work right away. I got used to being home. And then I went to work, I might as well say, and did all these other things. And I never married till I was 60 years old. Met a lady that I liked. So I was a single man for 60 years. Nancy's mother and father, Nancy had a sister, both died. And we were 9 and 10, we were 8 and 9. My brother Joe, who never married either, before he passed, took care of Nancy and her sister, all with their father. Took them to school all the years. We're glad to have him. And boy, she's been an asset today. To me, I probably wouldn't be here, wouldn't be for Nancy. She does a lot of things that I can't do. I began when I was in first year of high school. I began playing a harmonica there. This was interesting, and got to be quite proficient with that harmonica. They had a contest here in Lake County, and I won that. I wound up being a excellent harmonica player, which I still play and am good. At the same time, I wound up playing guitar in a 12-piece band here. And I got to be quite proficient guitarist, which I play every day. Yeah, back if you're wondering about the guitar, I came in the area of the swing, Benny Goodman, and the swing area was the 40s. All the big bands. I saw them all. And they were all 12, 14-piece band. Well, you see, Lawrence Welcome, that's the era that I grew up in. We had a 12-piece band here, the Commodores. It was very good. We used to broadcast at Astabula Station on Sunday. Had a nice band. But, you know, music is that way. Each generation of kids or whatever, they have their own style of music. That's I got two here, one key of F, one key of G. See what it would. Can't get it out. Okay. Got a favorite song? Maybe I can play it. Nancy's song. Oh, it's all two different kinds, two different keys. What is that Italian song that I played? Eh?
Oh, that's Amore.
How does it go now?
When
Give me an idea.
the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie.
That is very impressive.